Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus stuck in my head. And I know why. It's because like a memory popped in my head of like when I was a tween and I took country line dancing lessons at the Red Barn, and that was the song.
Of course you did.
I know. That's why I have it stuck in my head. Okay. In today's video, I'm going to be answering all of your questions. You guys sent a lot of good questions for me, and so I'm really excited to get to those. We've compiled a list. Dave is in charge of the questions. He's going to be asking them. I'm going to do my best to answer them. I feel like we've got some really good ones.
What is your knitting origin story, and how did you start designing socks?
It's a good one. Okay, I started knitting way back in 2005. No one in my family were knitters, so I had to teach myself. I got a little booklet from the craft store and a giant skein of Red Heart Super Saver acrylic yarn in like this maroon brick color, really hideous. I don't know why I picked that color. And in my head, I was gonna make this very fashionable scarf. And of course my scarf like looked like this. I got into socks, 2018 was when I knit my first pair of socks. Well, I knit my first sock and it was a disaster. The heel was in the middle of the arch of my foot. Like, I can't let me try the other bit. Okay. The heel was like here. That's where the heel was. I threw it away. Like when I get mad, like if I'm not immediately perfect at something, I get like angry. And so I remember distinctly, like not only did I throw it in the trash, but I like shoved it down in there, like under coffee grounds and banana peels. Like I did not want to see this sock ever again. And that's my biggest regret, because I would give anything to have that wonky, ugly little sock that didn't fit. If it hasn't clicked for you, don't give up. It took me a while. I didn't start designing until 2020, and I designed a sock pattern, and I really enjoyed doing it. Like it was so much fun. And so I immediately, as soon as I finished designing that first sock pattern, I cast on another, and the ideas just started flowing. I started posting my designs on Instagram, and people seemed to really respond to them, and that's kind of how we ended up here 5 years later. It's really wild. I never thought that my job would be sock knitting pattern designer. The guy at the bank didn't believe me either. When I became an official business and like opened my business checking account, and he asked me like what my business was. And I said, well, I design sock knitting patterns. And he looked at me like, are you sure that you're not laundering money for like a drug syndicate? Because that sounds kind of like what a drug syndicate money launderer would say. Like, oh, I design sock knitting patterns. So yeah, very strange job. Never thought I would end up having this job in a million years, but I love it. It's the best job. Knit socks are my art, and I love it. Can't explain why. It's somewhere in my genetics or DNA, who knows. For an introvert and a shy person, I like to talk a lot. All right, next question.
Only at the camera though.
I know, only at the camera. If you met me in real life, I'd be like, it would be really awkward. All right, next question.
Multiple people noticed our TV being on a rolling cart on wheels and wanted to know the genesis of that and where does it go when we're not using it.
I'm so excited that people ask, okay, when people come over to my house, which is rare, I am literally dying for them to ask, where's your TV? Because I'm so proud. This is my biggest accomplishment in life to date. Not giving birth to children, not my job. This is it. This is the accomplishment I am most proud of, is what I did with our TV when we moved into our new house. Okay, so let me set the scene. Let me show you. Okay, when you're in my living room, you can see that the only good place to put the TV is above the fireplace. I don't like that because then you're like sitting with your neck craned up and it's really painful. It's just not comfortable for me personally. I like to view TV at eye level. We could have put it on our bookshelves, but I need all of that space for books. So it would have hidden books. It would have like reduced my book storage, and that's not good either. So there truly was no other place to put it except above the fireplace, and that was not acceptable. So I came up with this genius idea. My husband goes to these different conferences with his prior job, and there would be like TVs on rolling stands that people would use in their booths to like display and show video of their product. And I thought, why not bring that into a residential space? Why does it have to be limited to medical conferences? So I bought this like little rolling TV stand off Amazon for like $46. Put my TV on it, and we keep our TV in this like little utility closet just off the living room. When we want to watch TV, we just roll it out, plug it in, watch our show. We can angle it for maximum viewing, like no glares, like it's just right there where it's like perfect viewing. And then when we're done watching the show or movie, we can just wheel it back in the closet. And truly, this is like my greatest invention. When people come over to my house, I am literally just like, oh, please ask where my TV is so that I can show them because I'm so proud of this.
So obviously, given the content of your previous video, we have lots of people asking, how do you do a fade? Specifically, how do you do your fade?
Yes. Okay, so one of my big goals this year, last year I was busy, I was writing the book and, all of that. So I had a lot on my plate last year, but one of my goals this year is to do a lot more tutorials. So it's a lot to explain in this particular video since we're answering a lot of questions, but I did want to let you know that I will be doing a fade tutorial. I'll be doing a lot of different tutorials this year. I have not done an afterthought heel tutorial, so I'm gonna be doing one of those. I have a lot of great tutorial plans coming up, so if there are specific tutorials you would like to see me do, let me know in the comments of this video so I can add them to my list. Some of them will be really quick and easy that I can do as like an Instagram reel or a YouTube short, and then some will be a little bit longer and more involved. So I've got a running list of tutorials I want to do, and fading is at the top of that list. Dave said that a lot of you ask about that too. Like, can I go more in depth about what does it mean when it's lightly speckled or variegated? So in the fade tutorial, I'm going to show you how I select yarns, what I mean when I say lightly speckled or variegated, and then I'll show you how I fade. So a lot of great tutorials coming up this year. Let me know which ones you want to see so I can add them to my list.
All right, we got a lot of questions related to sizing and fit.
Yes.
I've highlighted my favorite because I relate to this so hard. My family is known for their cankles, regardless of body size. How do I tackle them in socks? But you got lots of other questions just related to fit.
Sizing and fit, yeah.
Sizing and fit.
So this is a great question. Whenever you buy a knitting pattern, typically it's a blueprint. It's a place for you to start. It's going to have all the instructions that let you know how to knit the item. But of course, we all have very different bodies, and that extends to feet. Feet are all wildly different, as are calves and legs. But the great thing about knitting, sewing, other handcrafts like that is that we can modify garments to fit our unique bodies and shapes. And so sock fit and sizing is a common question that I get because of course everyone has a different foot size, different ankles, different foot shape, different, calf size, different calf shape. And so it's something that I really want to get in depth with this year. This is gonna be another one where I'm like, tutorial forthcoming. But I really do want to do a deeper dive and create a course almost, like a really in-depth workshop that shows you how to take a pattern that you buy, any kind of sock pattern, and then modify it to fit your unique foot shape, because there are modifications you can do, and it's pretty in-depth. It's too in-depth for me to really get into in this video because there are so many different considerations. So that is coming up as well.
All right. People would like to know how many socks you have, and they'd like to see your stash.
I don't know how many socks. I mean, it's into the hundred. I mean, it's well over 100. Like if I had to guess, and I don't know, maybe I could guess and see if I'm right. I'm going to say 126. That's how many I have at the moment. Maybe. There have been some that have disappeared. You know, like I honestly don't know like what happened to them. Like I'll go looking for a specific pair and it's just gone. Some I know exactly what happened to them, and that is my teenage daughter came rifling through my little sock bin and then took off with some of them. So yeah, I don't know how many I have. It's a lot. I knit like socks exclusively. I mean, that's all I knit. So I got a lot of pairs of socks. But I don't know how many I have. My stash is not that thrilling. It's very utilitarian. So I'm going to show it to you, but it's not pretty. It's currently housed in my closet. I keep all of my yarn in bins, and I do kind of keep it organized. I have smaller clear plastic totes that I keep my solids and tonals, and I have them organized by color. Like I've got all the reds and pinks in one bin, the oranges and yellows in another, and so on. And that makes it really easy for me to go in and grab since I work with tonals so much. And then my speckled yarn, I keep in a big plastic tote. It's not cute. It's not pretty. I don't have it on cute little shelves. It is literally in plastic bins in my closet. It's not very attractive. One day I'd like to create a great stash storage in our office. I'll design something and be like, build this, please. And he'll look at me and be like, no, that's stupid. And then he'll do it anyways. Yep. But anyways, but for now, it's not very cute. It's not a good stash. And I will count my socks after I film all of this and pop the number right there. And we'll see how close I was to what did I say, 126?
You said 126.
We'll see how close I was. Okay.
A lot of people notice that every time you show socks on your videos, they always look very pressed, very pristine, lacking in dog hair, and they want to know how that is.
Okay, so let's start with how my socks look so pressed and pristine. So every time I finish a pair of socks, the first thing I do is block it. I have talked about the magic of blocking many times. Do you have to block your socks? No, the only things you have to do are pay taxes and die. Should you block your socks? Yes. Yes, you should. Again, I never like telling people what to do. You do what makes you happy. If you finish knitting a pair of socks and you just want to jam it on your feet and wear it right away, I totally get that. And you should do what makes you happy. But I will say, blocking socks isn't just about appearance. It doesn't just make them look beautiful. I also think it makes them softer and more supple, and they feel better after you block them. So I'm a huge proponent of blocking socks. This is what I use to block my socks. It is just an ugly plastic sock blocker. I have had this since the beginning, since I first started knitting socks back in 2018 or 2019 or whenever it was. Every time I finish a pair of socks, I block them. And I'm going to do a little tutorial video on that as well because I love blocking socks. I'm a huge proponent of it. I think everybody should do it. But when you block your socks, you're basically soaking them in warm water. The stitches are relaxing in that water. They're snuggling up next to each other. The lumpiness goes out. Everything evens out. And you end up with this beautiful, silky, supple, pristine sock that it looks like it's been ironed. I don't iron my socks. That is literally all from blocking. This is a blocked sock. It's just... it looks so good. I don't have any non-blocked socks that I can show you for comparison, but I know I have a picture. So I will show you a picture, a side-by-side comparison of what an unblocked and blocked sock looks like. But that's why whenever I'm showing you a sock in my video or on Instagram, it looks so flat and pressed and pristine. It all comes down to blocking, and I am going to do a quick little tutorial on that in the future really soon, actually, because I love blocking so much. Now, as far as keeping them constantly pristine and dog hair free, that's impossible. If you wear your knit socks, they are not going to look as perfect as they do when you first block them for long. They're going to get dog hair on them. There's really nothing you can do about that. Dog hair just likes to worm its way into fibers, and it's really hard to get out. It does that in sofas too, and rugs and everything else. Ask me how I know. So yeah, if you love dogs, we just have to put up with dog hair, and that means in our socks as well. And if you love and wear your hand knit socks, they're not gonna look this flat and pretty and pristine. So why do mine always look that way? When I show, these are old. This is like, I knit this last year. I knit this for my first book. So I mean, these are old socks. Why do they still look pristine? Well, I have a problem. I get emotionally attached to my socks. I said earlier, they're like my art. My socks, my knit socks are like works of art to me. I feel extremely emotional about them. So I don't wear them. Like I have a few that I wear, but for the most part, it's like they go into my permanent collection. And I liken it to if I were a painter and I painted a beautiful canvas, it would be like if I strapped that canvas to my foot and then went like walking around on the work of art that I just painted. That's what it feels like whenever I wear my knit socks. So it's a problem, and it's one of my goals this year is to wear my knit socks more. Last week I did a video on a beautiful pair of slouchy, oversized, faded, cabled socks. I actually wore those for like 2 days straight. I forgot how good knit socks feel. So I actually wore those, but it also hurt my heart. So I have a problem. My socks are collectibles to me. I'm emotionally attached to them, but also on a more practical level, because this is my job, I use them a lot. I photograph them a lot. I talk about the socks that I've knit a lot. And so if I'm like wandering around in them and they're all lumpy and covered in dog hair, it's kind of hard to then pull it out and say, hey, this is an example of a blocked sock. So on a more practical level, because it's my job preserving my samples and keeping them camera ready, photography ready, all of that is kind of important too. So, but I hope you wear your knit socks. I hope you're able to not be completely unhinged and like get so attached to them emotionally that you can't even wear them, which is where I'm at. But this year, I'm gonna do it. I'm going to wear my knit socks more.
Here's a fun one. What are your pet peeves?
I love this one. This could be a 10-part series with each video being an hour long because I love pet peeves. I collect pet peeves. I nurture my pet peeves. I enjoy pet peeves, which is funny because in general, like, I'm a pretty positive person. I like seeing, you know, the positive side of things. I'm a glass half full, like very positive person, but yet I also have a very dark very dark blackened heart that like loves to nurture and hold on to like petty grievances. And so pet peeves are right up my alley. I mean, I've probably developed 2 or 3 pet peeves just since I woke up this morning. That's how much I love pet peeves. But right now I have several, but let's start off with like when teens make a face at you like you're so stupid for asking a perfectly reasonable question. For example, this morning when we dropped our kids off at school, my son has a bass lesson today after school. And as he was getting out of the car and walking off, I rolled down my window and I was like, hey, do you have your bass? And he looked at me like this. He went, as if I am the stupidest person who ever lived for asking him if he had the instrument he needs for his instrument lesson.
And he didn't.
And he didn't have it.
He left it in the car.
Where was the bass? It was in the car, and he just looked at me like. So that's one of my pet peeves, when teenagers give you that face like you're an idiot for asking a perfectly reasonable question. People who walk slow, and I'm not talking about people with disabilities or mobility issues. I'm talking about people who could otherwise walk at a reasonable pace, who are just and you're stuck behind them, and I'm on the go. When I am out and about running errands, I am like on a mission, and I leave them behind. Like, they joke about it because as soon as David, he doesn't even have the car in park yet, and I am leaping out of the car, and I am just striding across the parking lot. My family is in the desk. They're way back there. Like, I am a fast walker.
My first 2 minutes in any grocery store is catching up with you and finding where you are.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it took me to,
Yeah.
get the keys, stop the car, walk through the parking lot. Yeah.
I'm a fast walker. When you hold the door open for people and they just breeze on through and you're like, okay, Madison, I guess. There's no thank you. So I guess rudeness, like I'm a big thing about politeness and courtesy. There's no more courtesy anymore. I like nurturing my pet peeves and hanging on to them, so.
Someone wanted to know why we moved and do we have any plans for the new house?
Because we like to move. We move a lot. We moved for two big reasons. One, our house was built in 1910 and it was really friggin' expensive. Old houses cost money and time. And it felt like all we were ever doing was just shoo, 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 money just flying out the window, and spending all of our free time just fixing problems or redoing it because it needed a lot of renovation. Our kids are 16 and almost 18. They're going to be gone soon. We just really wanted to enjoy time with them, and we wanted to keep more of our money. So we decided to sell that house and move to a new construction home. No problem so far. We went with what we hope is a reputable builder, and it's just easy. Any projects we want to do, they're minimal because it's just basically putting icing on a cake instead of having to bake the cake, which is what it felt like in the old house, and it was horrible. So that's kind of where we're at. A new construction home, very basic, very bare, but we're adding our own touches to it. We've started to do some small projects. On that note, I feel like we should show you our very first small DIY project that we did in our new house, our drop zone. All right, so if you recall our drop zone before, our whole house is painted light gray with white trim, all of the cabinetry is white. We started with the drop zone because it's a very small area, great place to kind of get our feet wet and get back into doing projects. We didn't do a whole lot. We painted the walls Simply White by Benjamin Moore. We painted the cabinets another Benjamin Moore color, and this is called Sabric Sage. I love this color. It is such a beautiful, soft, sagey green. We are replacing the handles. You'll notice they're just empty little holes right now because our handles haven't come in yet. But once they come in, I'll put them on, and I will pop that in my Instagram story. So if you follow me on Instagram, don't worry, I will have the cute handles I picked out because they are really, really cute. I'll have those on Instagram. I feel like it's so much cozier, and it's definitely more our personality. So that is the drop zone. So that's the project that I left you hanging on last week because stuff hadn't come in yet.
Because you're an animal.
Because I'm an animal. I'm one of those people that are like, tune in next week for the reveal. All right, next question.
Okay. Can you explain why you sometimes knit using the circular needles and then sometimes using the 9-inch?
Okay, so I use long circular needles, 40-inch US size 1 needles for most of my socks because I knit magic loop. So if I am knitting vanilla socks, cabled socks, lace socks, textured socks, I'm using magic loop and a 40-inch long circular needle. However, when I knit color work, I like to use tiny circulars, the 9-inch tiny circulars, because I find it easier to knit color work when I can go in a continuous circle. I'm not having to catch floats at the beginning and end of a needle like you do with magic loop or double pointed needles. So that's the reason. Those two needles are the only two that I use. I never use double pointed needles. I don't use flexi flips. Just magic loop on most of my socks, and then the tiny 9-inch circulars on color work.
A few people asked what I do for a living.
What Dave does.
What does Dave do?
Dave, this is actually really cool. This is a big announcement. So Dave previously in another life, a very recent other life, used to be the director of operations for a healthcare software company. But in December of last year, so like a month ago, he left that job to work full-time for our business. So now Dave's a part of Summerly Design Co. And so he does literally everything so that all I have to do is focus on the creative side, like coming up with designs and knitting socks. So like Dave answers emails. He's doing all of the administrative stuff, all the financial stuff, all the books. He's like keeping us on track. He's editing the videos. He's reaching out to like yarn companies and others. I mean, he's just doing literally everything that I don't have time to do. Dave's prior job involved so many different things, including financial stuff, accounting stuff. It involved marketing things, like project management. So he like manages our projects really, really well. He brings so many skills to this, and now we work together on this business, and it's great because it was too much for one person. I did not have time to get to everything. And I had so many ideas of things I want to do. I talked about like the course on sizing and fit, the different tutorials I want to do. We want to bring in merch. We want to partner with yarn. Like there's so many ideas that I had, and I just didn't have the time to do them. And then it would get overwhelming. And then I feel like my creativity would suffer because I felt overwhelmed, because I had, we had grown this business to the point that we needed another full-time person. And thankfully Dave was willing to leave his career and jump on board this ship. And so you'll be seeing a lot more of him. I mean, you've probably already seen him in the background of my videos. And really, this just gives him more time to build things for me. That's the biggest bonus, is I create ideas in my head that are impractical and impossible to build, and then draw really crappy sketches, show them to Dave and say, hey, build this. And he just, now he gets to do that even more. So, yeah.
Everyone would like to know about your new book.
The new book. Okay, so this is really cool because my first book, The Sock Project, was kind of aimed at beginner and intermediate knitters. It included recipes for lots of different basic socks, lots of different heels, lots of different cuffs. Taught you how to do stripes, taught you how to do ribbing and fades and like all these other cool things. Plus it had a lot of patterns kind of organized by, we had a color work chapter and a lace chapter, and it included a lot of tips and tricks to really help you up your sock knitting game in addition to being a library of patterns. My next book, which I don't think I can tell you the name of it yet.
I don't think we can yet.
I don't think I can say much of anything at all about it. But basically, it's all patterns. It is just a beautiful collection of patterns, also organized into sections. And then it's a lot more personal. I give you a lot of stories and anecdotes and pictures even of just my knitting journey, my life. It's a very personal book because, again, I'm weirdly passionate about sock knitting. So sock knitting and summer are deeply intertwined. You cannot separate the two. Like we're I know, getting very metaphysical here about, but it's very much a personal book, and I really loved writing it. Like not just designing the patterns, but just the writing of it. I really, really loved. So it is different from the Sock Project. It is the next step beyond the Sock Project. More patterns. It's more personal. And as far as when it comes out, I don't know because I turned it in late. I was supposed to turn it in October 1st so it could come out in the fall of 2025, but I turned it in 2 months beyond that. So it may come out at the end of this year. It might be early 2026. I don't really know. So I can't tell you when it's going to come out, but I can tell you that when I know when it's going to come out, then you'll know when. Then you'll know.
We'll announce immediately.
Yeah, I'll announce it, and then I'm sure there'll be pre-orders and all of that good stuff. So I will keep you in the loop.
All right. So, of course, everyone wants to know more about Beasley and then also about the other dog that they've seen in the background the last couple of videos.
All right. Okay, so if you were here last year when I was doing a lot of vlogging, you probably noticed a husky wandering around in the background. His name was Forrest. I talked about him. Forrest did not like me. Forrest kind of like Dave, but that was about it. He just wasn't a people dog. He was very aloof, very much a loner, and just kind of liked to be left alone. And that was him, and that was his personality, and that was fine. We still loved him very much. So Forrest was an old dog, and unfortunately he got canine cognitive disease and declined, and he was on medication for a while, but it wasn't really improving his quality of life, and it got to a point where we knew it was time to let him go. And so we had a vet come to the house, and Forrest was able to pass away peacefully at home. That was hard. That was a rough go last summer when that happened. He was a really special dog despite his quirks. But we still have Beasley. Beasley is 5, and you've seen her. She's the one that's glued to my side all the time, our little blonde mutt. We adopted her 5 years ago. She was a little puppy when we adopted her. No idea what breed she is. We think maybe there's a little Shih Tzu in there, probably some Terrier given her attitude. We have no idea what she is. So we've had her for 5 years, and she is my soulmate. The kids often joke, like they think that that Beasley might be like a tier or two above them in the order of my affection. Beasley and I definitely have a best friends club, and no one else is allowed in it, including Dave. She's just by my side all the time. So that's the little blonde dog. You have also noticed a 3-legged dog, a big guy, bopping around in the background before. His name is Grady. So my kid's science teacher, she fosters dogs for an organization in Tulsa called Animal Aid. And Animal Aid specializes in rescuing sick and injured dogs. And so Grady showed up at the Broken Arrow Animal Shelter with a shattered hind leg. And they didn't know what had happened to it, but they think it might have been an old injury. So he might have been hit by a car while he was astray. Who knows? But Animal Aid pulled him out of the shelter, took him to the vet. His leg was amputated. They got him up to date on all of his shots, neutered, all those things. And then our kid's science teacher was fostering him. And so we kind of, Sailor was like, he's available for adoption. So we decided to give it a try. Animal Aid does what they call adoption trials, where you kind of foster the dog for a little bit. You bring him into your home to make sure it's a good fit with kids, other animals, things like that. Grady is the best dog I've ever met. Like, this is the sweetest, calmest, gentlest boy, and he gets around really well, but Beasley absolutely loathes him. Beasley has not stopped being aggressive towards him, like growling, snapping. She wants to be an only dog. When she came into our family, Forrest was already here, so she kind of, I guess, accepted that, but she does not accept new additions. So she's been really aggressive towards Grady, growling, snapping. She doesn't want him coming near us. She doesn't want him coming near her. So it's not a good fit. So our adoption trial is coming to an end, and it's not going to be a good fit because Beasley has let us know pretty clearly that she does not want another dog in the house, and we're going to respect that. So Grady's going to a different foster family where he will be available for adoption through Animal Aid Tulsa. You can check out their website if you're in the Tulsa area and would love to give this amazing dog a great home. He's such a great dog. He's so good with other animals. Like, even though Beasley has been horrible to him, like, he has not reacted. He's been so calm and so sweet. So great dog, would make just an awesome pet if you're in the Tulsa area. I'll put a link to Animal Aid in the description below the video if you'd like to learn more about Grady.
Last question.
This has gone by. I've really enjoyed answering your questions. I don't want this to be the last one. Okay.
What's next for Summerly Design Co?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my problem has always been that I have more ideas than I can physically execute. And that comes to like knitting pattern ideas. That comes to like ideas that I want to do with Summerly Design Co. And thankfully David's now here to help me. So I'm not writing any books this year. I'm not doing that. Writing a book is so consuming that I can't do anything else. So I am going to be releasing my first pattern in many months this month, like towards the end of the month. I have an actual new pattern coming out. Of course, I have Colorwork Cuff Club where I release a new colorwork chart every month. But aside from that, I have not released a new pattern since like April or May of 2024. It's been a long time. And I've had ideas. I just haven't had time to do it because of the book and other things. So I've got a new pattern coming out very soon. David and I are working with an awesome graphic designer to create some cool merch because I've had great ideas for like, sock-centric t-shirts and mugs and just all the fun things. Continuing the vlog. Tutorials are going to be such a huge part. In addition to my weekly vlog, I also want to create a lot of tutorials in depth, getting into all things sock knitting, and I haven't done that in a long time. I am very excited this year to bring you a lot more education and design inspiration in the form of the vlogs and new patterns and fun, cool, like sock t-shirts and stuff. So there's so much, and I'm so excited about all of it. Very, very excited. That wraps up our Ask Me Anything. Thank you guys so much for submitting so many great questions. I gotta say, every week I look forward to reading your comments on the vlog. Last week we had a ton of people from New Zealand. It was like New Zealand just showed up. They were like, we are here. And it was so fun, like seeing people just from around the world commenting. I love it when you tell me where you're from. That's always fun to see where everyone's from. Again, I'm nosy. Introverts are usually nosy, and I love knowing where everyone's from. Love reading all of your comments, and like, I don't know, we're creating such a great community here on YouTube. And I love that. Like, I really love that part of it. Next week, I'll be back with a whole new sock pattern to show you, a great vlog where I'm going to be knitting a new sock pattern. David's going to start constructing a bookshelf that I designed that may or may not be possible to build, but
we'll find out.
We'll find out. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week. I've got links to a lot of things in the description below this video. So if you saw something or heard me say something in this video that you're curious about, chances are you can find a link to it in the description below the video. You can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos. You can follow me on Instagram. You can sign up for my newsletter. All those links are in the description below the video as well. So thank you so much for all your good questions. Thanks for joining us here today, and I will see you next Friday.